Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Marvel events because sometimes they feel like a gimmick. They don't really get an amazing story, and sometimes the artwork, well, I guess all the Marvel events, they kind of put their best artists on it, but the writing is usually awful and the story is usually awful. And this is really no different. However, the art is unbelievable. And the artist on this is Therese Nielsen. She is one of my favorite artists. She's not known for comics. She's known for doing like fine art stuff or illustration stuff, I guess, but really fine art stuff. And she's known for doing a lot of art for Magic the Gathering cards. And I guess in 1995, she was asked to do the art for a Marvel event, which is a play on um, the Alex Ross story, Alex Ross book Marvels. And this is kind of just like a fun parody of it, but really, it's not really fun. It's actually really screwed up, and it's a very dark version of Marvel. One could think like could compare it to like a DC event or something like that, or like a DC zombie event that they did for Green Lantern many years later. It's done by Warren Ellis, who written by Warren Ellis, who is a divisive character to say the least um, in comics. But hey, whatever. I'm not here for the story. I'm here for the art. And I mean, you open up and you get this beautiful, beautiful page. The one thing I love is when an artist is able to catch you right from the beginning. And Therese Nielsen has this amazing ability as a fine artist to just really catch you right in the beginning. Now, I don't know how long this comic took her to draw. I imagine it took quite a long time to draw in paint. But I mean, there's some really just great stuff. But you also see how, which I love about this comic, is you see how a painter works in the medium of comics, because you are pressed for time, obviously, because you got to get this book out as quick as possible, because they don't really care. They care about the art, but they don't care about it as much as the artist does. So you'll see some of these very interesting backgrounds that go on, and very simplistic stuff to kind of represent certain things. But the figure work and the paint is just amazing. I mean, her use of colors, this very muted feel. She gets this very like dark environment perfectly. It sort of reminds me of like a kind of like a Ridley Scott Blade Runner feel. Just like, yeah, it's just this very dark world that we're in right now. Not your normal Marvel universe. So we get this amazing Wolverine. I have no idea what's going on with Wolverine or any of the, because I haven't read it. I look at my comics and I study them. I don't read them, which I probably should read them more. Um, I mean, obviously there are occasions where I'll read comics. Like Dark Knight Returns, I've read tons of times. But with comics like this, I sort of pay attention to the art, because at the end of the day, I like to consider myself an artist more so than a writer, like most artists. But I can appreciate a good comic book story, but this just seems like we're here for the art. So, anyways, I mean, here we go with this very simplistic background. You get these very simple scratches that represent what they're supposed to represent. It's like a wall and a building, or the top of a wall and a windmill. So you get it there in like this very simplistic door. So you kind of see the, how she's sort of pressed for time, but still does an amazing job. And then we get this amazing piece right here. I mean, this could be, the cover of a sci-fi book. And then you just get this awesome piece of Silver Surfer just like exploding. And, you see these great muscles around the neck, and just beautiful anatomy, drawing and painting stuff that sort of just isn't the norm of what you see in comics. And I imagine when you have an absurd idea like this, you know. But anyways, we get these and this beautiful cinematic composition of we're starting at a shot far away, we're getting closer, and then the head turns. I mean, this is like movie composition. It feels very cinematic, and that's the goal with these Marvel events. The goal is to create this very cinematic feel. I imagine this book was probably more expensive than your average Marvel book. But I mean, yeah, you get beautiful stuff here. I mean, it's just, I love this very muddy feel because we're in this dark world, and I think her art works beautifully. I'm going to put some of her art up somewhere in the video so you can see kind of the other stuff she's done. It's only going to be like one or two pieces. I don't want to put too much up and do too much editing on this video. But, anyways, I mean, I love very sloppy art for some reason because it always represents kind of darkness. I feel like when things are too clean, it's sort of, I don't know, it feels very cartoony when something's very clean. I like this very dark, muddy feel, and she does that beautifully. We don't have any Rob Liefeld guns here, for that's for sure. But yeah, just amazing stuff. The anatomy is beautiful. The I love everything about this book. How it's sort of like there's a lot of muddiness going on, and I mean, look at this. Like, I mean, it's just like I don't know if those are pencil marks or just random marks in the background to represent graffiti, but it works. And then you get the simplistic background. I mean, this is definitely a painter at work for sure. And then you get this beautiful orange and these like, very simple, quick sketches to represent, a background. Close up and look at those teeth and that nose. All the forms are there. All the forms are beautiful and perfect. And then, I mean, look at that. I mean, that looks so dark and just so creepy and horrific. I mean, we're not living in your typical Marvel world that feels very light. But Marvel was always light. DC was always dark. And you sort of you're bringing over that dark. And I don't know if it was because Marvel went, let's just kind of do a book that feels like a DC feel. I don't think this book was very successful. I think it probably was a flop, but it's just so unique, I feel like, and that's why I enjoy it so much. It's not like Civil War. And then you just sort of see this very grotesque Hulk and this very like this I'm assuming that's Bruce Banner. Just it's just grotesque, and I love it. And I mean, look at the spores and like the fungus and just yeah, man. He's just it reminds me of something like from like Last of Us or like a zombie movie or something like that. And then you get this very skinny, you know, deathly character. Looks like something like Dave McKean would do. And then we get a little bit of the Punisher here, who's just dead. And then I love how it ends on the Punisher being dead, which I think is pretty rad. Because I feel like the Punisher was really popular back in the 90s. So anyways, that's our back of the book. Also, just this cool, very like, love that cover. They didn't pull any, like they did everything they could to make this look like a nice package. Now, issue 2 is a bit weird because Therese Nielsen, the artist on the first one, does like the first 18 pages and then it goes off to another artist and it looks weird, which is kind of upsetting. That's probably another reason why this isn't really collected in many editions or anything like that. An artist change like that is very jarring, so we'll see it as it comes up. But I mean, look at this beautiful cover here. Look at that Magneto. I mean, I love that rib cage and the forms on top of the rib cage and the deltoid and that bicep beautifully there. And then you kind of get this arm coming around, and then you see that arm kind of coming down by the wrist. It's just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And I mean, it looks like, you know, pieces of metal are coming towards him, and it's just so cool. It's like if you took like a Dave McKean cover and then had an amazing like, I mean, I don't know. It's beautiful. I really adore this cover, and I mean, if I saw this cover on the wall, I would have bought this comic instantly. And then we get something that's more Therese Nielsen. She's like a fantasy artist most of the time, and I always like to think of her as like Frazetta on drugs. But she creates and paints very beautiful stuff as well. It's not always kind of like this dark. Like, I mean, look at that page. I mean, you open it up and you're just like, whoa. You know, that's a page turn if I've ever seen one. My goodness. It's so upsetting that they couldn't keep her around. I don't know if it was for time purposes or what. No, I don't know if that's actually a paste up, like, or not a paste up, but yeah, I don't know if it's like an actual like picture and then she put paint over it. I'm not quite certain, but it's a beautiful piece there. And man, God, it's really jarring when the artist changes. By the way, we'll see it, and then it kind of goes downhill. I feel I'm sorry to the artist who took over. I don't think the art's bad. I just don't think it's. I mean, come on, it's not this, but you'll see it. I mean, God, look how beautiful this stuff is. I think this stuff is beautiful. And then we get into like a very like I don't know if this is like a dream sequence or something, but it's very interesting that it goes from like this very muted color to a little bit more, dreamlike. And then you get this. And it's just like, what the like could they not find an artist who was kind of similar to this? Similar to Therese Nielsen? I don't know. I think it was a bad time for comics. I think comics were failing and weren't doing very good. I don't know if that I think this was the point where comics were just in the shitter, but man, I wish they could have gotten an artist that was somewhat similar. And then of course you get Ghost Rider, and it's like, man, why couldn't Ghost Rider been in the book when Therese Nielsen was on it? I don't know how much time was separated between this time as well. I don't know if it was a money issue. I don't know if it was a time issue. I have no idea. But man, is it jarring the difference. If I picked up the and also to give you this and then to go into this, it's like what the fuck is going on? Like what is happening here? But I mean the artist is very good. It's just well, okay. That's kind of odd, those eyes there. Don't that yeah, that's not it's art. So we'll be respectful. I've always said this, if you work in comics, I respect the hell out of you because it's a difficult medium to work in. It's not as simple as just turning on the camera. It's there's a lot that goes into it. And I'm not knocking people who make films either because I respect those who make films, but comics they're kind of everything. They're like writing a novel, drawing, and kind of having the knowledge of composition and things like that. So I respect anybody who works in comics, but the art is just not there. And then we get this final piece here. So, and then you get this beautiful piece in the back. But yeah, that was Marvel Ruins. I just wanted to take a look at it because I thought it was a pretty interesting book. Comic Pop does a great video on the actual story of it, and I don't think there's very many people who have kind of gone through the art. It's always about the story, um, but I mean, it's all there. And that first, you know, issue and a half, beautiful, uh, just beautiful artist. Therese Nielsen is. I wish she had done more comics, but she hasn't. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.